What's up, everybody? I know I've been a bit absent lately, but I've been taking a break for myself. However, Offworld's been posting updates and information regarding future updates to Squad, so I figured we should drop in, get caught up, and look ahead. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button, leave a like, drop a comment down below with your thoughts. Also, if you or a friend needs a key to Squad, you can use my code SLATE3K30 for a limited time and get 60% off the base game. The additional 30% off will last until February 16th, and you can use the link in the description below. Now, just last month, we had 10.2 released that covered a few things. This includes general optimizations via mesh streaming, which is above my pay grade, and I don't fully understand it, but hopefully someone can explain it to me. Fire Team got some quality of life fixes. They renamed some missions. They added a free mission and a paid mission, as well as experimental missions for you to try out. Next, there were some community design team updates. For example, helicopter timing was dropped from 10 to 5 minutes. Fall height threshold increased for causing damage. Updated transport vehicle tickets from 5 to 3. Now, when it comes to bug fixes, there are several that stood out to me. For example, the helicopter velocity change has been fixed. That happened when pilots' game performance dropped. They fixed the audio coming from the WPMC radio fob to match other radio fobs by other factions. They made tail rotors on helicopters a little less susceptible to getting tail struck on landing. Additionally, helicopters shouldn't be sliding when the pilot jumps out and the engine is still running. So if you're like me and you've been out of the loop for a little bit, these all sound like good changes and things are moving in a good direction. And it ties in with the roadmap that Offworld presented to us late last year. But it's time to look ahead to 10.3, which is expected this month and comes with some new content. And I'm going to let Pimo introduce some of this.
This one is chock full of content, community development team updates, and of course, a lot of bug fixing. First up, the PLA. They'll be receiving a bunch of new content, including vehicles like the Z9A helicopter and the ZSD-89 tracked APC, and weapons such as the QBZ-191 rifle and the QCW-05 SMG.
Okay, so the PLA are getting some new things, including this helicopter, which was just mentioned. Now, it's worth noting that on the post on Twitter for this helicopter, there was a mention of a cast version that may be coming down the road, but not with 10.3 itself. The PLA is going to get a new APC in the WZ551 that comes in multiple different variants. Additionally, it looks like, and standing with more recent updates to Squad, it will have a fully rendered interior. We'll also get the ZSD-89 tracked APC. It appears to also get a vehicle that I've heard called the Lynx, which seems to be an ATV open-top vehicle with a mounted gun. Now, on TikTok, the Squad official comment was there's going to be 6 new modern weapons, 5 new optics, 4 new vehicles, 1 new emplacement, and 1 new static landing ship, which was also teased in some images shared by Offworld. Now, like Pimo said, we are getting some new weapons, including the QBZ-191 that looks pretty sharp and comes in a marksman variant, which is labeled as the QBU-191, which I must admit looks pretty sick with the dragon skin attached to it. We'll also be getting a new light machine gun in the QJY-201, I think. Now, they may also be getting a grenade launcher, and I'm kind of guessing here, so someone in the comments can correct me if I am wrong. But given that we've been seeing a lot of automatic grenade launchers added to the game for various factions, plus there's a handheld version of this, makes me think that's what this is. Now, that covers a bunch of updates for the PLA faction. Let's talk about some of the other things we can expect in 10.3. Back to Pimo.
We're lifting most faction restrictions on maps. You told us you wanted more variety from match to match, and we listened. Starting in 10.3, most maps will support more faction options. Here are a few matchups I cannot wait for you all to experience. Players can now play Canadian Armed Forces versus the Canadian Resistance Forces on Manicouagan and Goose Bay. And if that isn't cool enough, how about the Armed Forces of Ukraine battling the PLA on Fallujah? We can't wait to see the interesting matches that unfold over the coming months.
Finally, we have reduced restrictions around matchups, which is something I and a lot of folks in the community have all mentioned or asked for. The reduction of this should help a little bit of the stale gameplay right now and give us more flexibility in what situations we can create. But Pimo goes a step further with maps.
Community layers. To create new ways to play popular game modes, we work directly with the community to add our first 4 community layers. Our goal is to add new layers in every update and to expand this initiative to even more community members.
So there's a tool we're going to talk about in a second, but it does look like 10.3 is getting 4 new layers, which are featured here.
Sanction RAS. You don't have to use amphibious factions. This one takes place at the top of the map. Albazra AAS. A pre-capped AAS layer, so the fight starts in the middle much faster. Manicouagan. A brand new seed layer for added variety. Harju RAS. 3 lanes, 5 clusters, fast action on the east side of the map.
So these are 4 layers that are basically made by the community, submitted to Offworld, and implemented into the game to give us more variety on some of the maps that we're accustomed to. Now, this appears to be a part of an initiative that I'm going to let Siege talk about from a recent video that was posted.
Community member called Sharkman saw what we were doing and has made us a tool, this is his tool, where you can now make your own maps. It is coming in 10.3. You can choose which map you want to use. You can choose the layer where team 1 is placed, team 2 is placed. If it's a really large map and you only want to play in like a third of it, you can reduce the boundary of the map and play just within that. And what's really cool about it is that you can then just take a screenshot of this map that you've created, share it with us, and you'll be able to like have a chance at creating your own community layers.
Now, to be clear, the community-made tool does not actually make the map. It's basically plotting the map, which can then be sent to Offworld, and they can consider it for implementation into the game. So that may be discouraging to some, that it still needs to be considered and implemented. I think it's nice to have the option of being able to plan these out and at least give some diversity in the way layers are thought of. And if these are implemented into the base game and not just a mod, that means more people are going to accept playing them. There's going to be less of a barrier to entry for that map. So you have more variety in terms of what ideas or layers could be presented for each map. Additionally, with faction restrictions being reduced, you could create some interesting matchups based on the part of a map you may be using or focused on. Something like this sounds cool. I could only imagine what could happen if you could do some sort of battle group editing to really tailor what faction has what in that specific layer. Now, we should also talk about an aspect of the game that has been long discussed and is still being worked on through playtesting, and that is infantry gunplay. This still appears to be a work in progress. I don't know if we're going to see anything related to this inserted into 10.3. That'll be something we'll have to see once we have patch notes and all of that. But there are elements to the gunplay that are interesting changes from what we've become accustomed to since the infantry combat overhaul, including ADS speed, recoil, and maybe the most noticeable thing that I still think needs some fixing, which is the bullet flinch. A aspect of suppression where if a bullet flies past you, your character is kind of shifting a little bit in reaction to that. If you watched my gunplay rework video from late last year, you will have seen some of the things that they're working on and my thoughts on it. And it still seems like a work in progress, even in 2026 in February, right? It's still going to be something that they're going to have to balance, and it does seem like they're taking a lot of community feedback to help develop it. So I would recommend trying to take part in any of the playtests and give feedback. Now, until we have a little bit more definitive information on 10.3, this is what I got for you. And it does look like Offworld is continuing to follow the roadmap, making some updates, and of course, we have some new content coming for the PLA. But I do think two of the most exciting things outside of just having some new toys is really adding community layers and reducing faction restrictions. So with all that said, let me know what you're most excited about down in the comments below. Of course, be sure to hit the subscribe button, leave a like, and I will catch you all next time.